Hello, everyone watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify. It's another episode of NRG Insights. And for those that don't know, we speak to influential people in the market, in the financial services market, so whether that be lending, broking, or ancillary products. So today I've got Jourdan Rajwan from CSBF. We've got that the right way around again. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So talk to me. I just realised I butchered your surname then after I cocked up during an email, so nailed it. Talk to me about your journey to where you are now and how you came about to founding your current business.
Sure, it's a bit of a long journey and a bit winding and a lot of chance and luck involved. So my background was I studied history and politics at uni, no idea what I wanted to do, and thought I wanted to become a lawyer. So I went to do a couple of internships and summer work placements at law firms. And one of the lawyers, who I'm still in good contact with today, he's a partner at a major city firm, turned around to me and goes, "Why are you becoming a lawyer? You'd be so much better in property as an agent or a client." And I kind of took that advice quite positively, although I think he was basically saying, "You're not going to get on the grad scheme here, so don't bother." He's like, "You're not going to make the cut." So I then did an internship at JLL. At the time it was called Jones Lang LaSalle. Loved it, thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. And kind of got go do your master's, real estate accredited master's, and you come in on the grad scheme next year.
Yeah.
I thought this is the best thing. I'll go do the master's for 1 year. So I went to Cass Business School, did it, applied for the full-time grad scheme role in, I think it was September that year, and Lehman's went pop about 3 weeks later. I think it was like September, October. So whilst I thought, oh, this job is a dead cert, because they said, we'll offer it to you, they pulled, and I didn't get the job. So
2008. Was that?
Yeah. I'm
Good
sitting
times for
there. Everyone's in the same boat. All 100 and something people on the masters all thought they're going into a booming market.
Yeah.
No one had jobs, especially at the big firms. And I met a small retail and leisure agency called Shelley Sansa at the time. Well, still called Shelley Sansa. And I said, I had nothing else to do. I was like, "Can I come and work for you for free?"
Yeah.
They were like, "Well, we're not taking anyone." I said, "Look, I'll work for free. If you don't want me, kick me out. There's no notice, there's no contract." So I started there as kind of a junior agent, leasing restaurants, nightclubs, bars across the UK.
Was that still a tough gig then in 2008? Because obviously that's a great time to learn for people, but at the same time, there was no easy wins, was there?
The market was on its knees at that point. You know, the global financial crisis was at its height. No one was spending money. Restaurants and bars were going bust. But it was a great experience because they were basically like, "Look, you've got to do something, you've got to generate something." So they sent me out with business cards to go literally knock on people's doors and say, "Do you want to sell your restaurant? Do you need to expand your restaurant?" And I remember I said I'd work for free, and then after my first 2 weeks, the partners called me in and gave me a little envelope with, I think it was like 150 quid cash.
Nice.
Say thank you. I was like, "Oh wow, that was like my first pay." I was going to say it's not paycheck, but first pay. And then after 3 months, they put me on a contract and it was going great. And then about 6 months later, so April time, I saw one of the directors from JLL on the street walking down the street. And he goes, "Oh, what happened to you? Why didn't you come join us?" I was like, "Well, you didn't offer me the job." So I went somewhere else. He's like, "Oh, so have you been working now?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, since you've been working, I can actually hire you directly into my team, not as a graduate." I was like, "Great." So I left Shelley Sansa, went to work at JLL for about 6 years in the Central London investment teams.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Great experience, great training. Was good at it, but probably realised that it wasn't going to be my long-term career. And then moved across to Schroders on the real estate fund management side of the business.
Yeah.
Again, had great 5 years there. It also coincided with starting a family and working very hard, working in the city, which I had never done, but had a great run there. Really good market actually for what I was doing, which was typically value-add offices, especially focused around central London.
Yeah.
And then after about 4 years at Schroders, I kind of thought, what am I going to do? And I could see the direction of travel, and I thought there's a great career here, but is this really what I want? And I looked at a few roles and got close on a few things, and they didn't pan out, and I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And probably in a naive / overly ambitious move, thought, okay, I can set something up myself. And at the time, my father-in-law said to me, "Okay, well, if you want to do it, I'm happy to see if we can partner together." And I said, okay, my idea was to set up an investment management business, which is exactly what I had done at Schroders. And I thought to myself, well, I've got all this experience. I've done some capital raising. I've done the fund management side, asset management. Let me see if I can do it on a small scale. Like, this should be easy.
Yeah.
So I kind of handed in my notice. I stayed at Schroders. I told them I wanted to leave. I stayed for stayed till the end of the year. So end of December 19, I left, and then came to set up the new business on the 4th of February 2020. And we all know what happened about 5 weeks later.
Tough gig that,
The world imploded.
Your graduation didn't work out, and then obviously as soon as you moved into a new business, COVID hit. Good run.
Exactly. But look, I think, Marcus, the reality I can now say with complete honesty is, even without COVID, my new idea probably would have failed anyway.
It's easy to say that now.
It's easy to say, exactly. It's easy to say now.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I think I had massively overestimated my ability, or underestimated how difficult things were. You know, I thought I can do this. I've done it, and I didn't realize that I had a juggernaut behind me with a lot of resource.
Do you know what, Jourdan, as well? It's really relevant to a lot of people who. I mean, I know we talked about this the other day, but. It is really relevant to especially across financial services, isn't it? You can work for, like you say, a juggernaut, and just think this is cool. Like everyone's going to come with me, and you don't realise the brand you've got behind you. But I suppose it's a learning curve for everyone. And you obviously had that entrepreneurial spirit to go and do something, so it led you to the right place.
Yeah. But I think I was very young. I was probably just 32, 33, and I think I was naive as a reality. If you asked me now, I would have, and I was giving someone in my position advice, I would have said, look, you need to map this out a bit better. You need a much more focused structure. You need to know where you're raising the money from. And I thought I had that figured out, but hindsight tells me I didn't, and reality tells me I didn't. So 2020, I'm sitting there trying to figure out what am I going to do, trying to raise money, literally impossible. No one was even interested in talking. And, investing in property at the time was like saying, I want to invest in Blockbuster shares in the 2000s. You were just like, what are you talking about? Who wants to go into offices now? And everyone's going to work from home forever.
Yeah.
And then I got a call from a contact of mine, an agent, who said, I know you haven't deployed the money you thought you were going to deploy. So I've got a short-term lending deal. Are you interested in it? I said, all right, I've got nothing else to do. And this is, I think, December 2020. I said, oh yeah, fine, I'll figure it out. Can't be that hard. Did it and thought, oh, that was quite good. Made some good money, made an arrangement fee. And at the time we were lending, I think, about 0.35 a month or 0.4 a month. I was like, but it's better than sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
And then after we did that deal, I think one of the lawyers suggested, oh, I've got another client that might be interested. Would you do that? I thought, okay, do another one.
Yeah, 0.3 a month, I probably would,
yeah. Yeah, it was fine. It was better than nothing and, something to do. And this is now coming into the beginning of 21. And then from there, I kind of thought, okay, this is quite interesting. And the market was clearly needing something.
Yeah.
There were tons of people doing the same thing. And I say the fact that I fell into it shows there's no barrier to entry. But that was 2021. And then from there, the journey's grown. And now we're a team of 11, 12 people coming up into our 5th year.
Amazing. So it's happened by accident. I love the story, by the way. We talked about it the other day, and that's when I said, oh, you have to come on, because it is great, because the failure didn't set you back. It kind of ended up pointing you in the right direction. As much as it must. Well, I suppose did it feel like at the time? How long did it take with the old business, out of interest, when you were like, this is not going to work?
Well, a year, but I kind of said to myself, I've got to pull the trigger. If I wasn't going to start making money after. I said, if I'm not making money after a year, I can't see that I will. I need to figure out. And, my backup was go back into corporate world.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would just be able to pivot into something else, but a bit of luck, a bit of chance.
And a bit of balls as well to do it. Because you've actually
yeah.
And then
I literally had no idea what I was doing. I still remember the first time I met a borrower face to face. I sat down with a broker and we had offered terms on a deal, and the broker said to me, is interest being serviced, retained or rolled? And I had no idea what retained or rolled meant. I knew what serviced interest was because I have a mortgage, but I had no idea. And I remember sitting there, my face probably went white, and I remember thinking, I have no idea. And I just thought, okay, I've got to figure out my way through this. And I can't remember what I said, but
that was before ChatGPT as well. You could just jump on.
Yeah, and you're sitting in a meeting with someone like this.
Come back with it.
So I literally had no idea what I was getting into.
Amazing. And what's your kind of, for people that don't know your business, what Where do you sit in the market? Because like you say, there's a lot of competition now, right? You've got 240 people knocking on doors. So
how many did you say? 340?
240.
240.
That's not including family office and these are people that class themselves as a lender. It's nuts.
Wow, it's huge. So what we focus on, we are a non-regulated lender. We only lend in the UK and typically mainland. Our sweet spot sits between 1 to 10 million ticket size. Our average loan size sits at about 4. We've probably are predominantly commercial. And that's because my background is commercial and we very much consider ourselves an asset lender. So if we are comfortable to underwrite and know what the asset's worth is, we'll do it. And I think there's probably just a bit more opportunity in commercial. We're quite happy to do residential.
I suppose when I say you've nicked like about the 240, there's not 240 doing what you're doing, is there? You have.
No. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that just play in it. I'd say 1 to 10 million first charge, a mixture of assets. We've done everything from petrol stations to offices, retail parks, industrial, open storage, residential, student hotels.
That's just a personal one. Is petrol stations not really hard to lend on because of the fact that you can't do anything else with it? Aren't they? Is it
funny enough, that deal we lent 2.5 million. And we believe the site was worth a lot more. And at the time, I got a valuation because I didn't really know what the site would be worth. And I think it was Savills at the time said it would be worth 7 million.
Blimey.
I was sure that they were wrong. I was like, no, it's got to be worth more. The borrower ended up selling it for, I think, 19.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
So.
And we're going to touch on this as well. But the thing we were talking about the other day that I really loved is that you've been successful with your graduate scheme. You're a big believer in bringing in the new blood into the industry. That may come from the way you fell into it. Do you know what I mean? You with no experience, that kind of thing. So talk to me about that. I mean, how it's gone, and obviously the challenges of it, right? We all know that you need patience, etc., to get that machine working. But how's that gone, and what was the kind of the thought process behind it?
Asking me now in September 25, I'd say it's gone really well. There's been a lot of bumps and winds along the road. And we've had a few failed starts along the way. But what we tried to do originally is bring in people with lots of experience and we thought could really add to the knowledge base and the input on the team. And it just didn't really work. A lot of people were quite stuck in their own ways. A lot of people didn't want to learn a different approach. So we thought, let's bring in some new people and try to train them up. So we've got 6 in the office now, all between the ages of 21 to 23 or 24, maybe one of them just turned 24. But basically happy to start their career. I think the prospects for a graduate now are really difficult. So we've been really fortunate that we've been able to pick some really, really strong caliber people that I think 10 years ago we wouldn't have got, if I'm honest.
Do you know what? I say that, I had a coffee with a graduate the other day for a similar reason. Not that we've got anything for her, but I was speaking to her dad and she was saying the same thing, like they're really up against it when they come out now. It's limited opportunity because people aren't willing to. Especially there was a gap in the cycle a few years ago as well, and that's that's made it a lot worse. It's the machine hasn't been rolling.
You had exactly. You had a gap in production, and it's really different. So a lot of them that we've spoken to said, I've applied for like 100 jobs. I've done 20, 30 interviews against a computer where they just flash up a question, record my answer, and I get an email 2 hours later saying, sorry, no. I mean, I don't think I've got the resilience to have done that. I mean, when I was applying for jobs, it was pretty grim, but this to me feels much, much harder for grads. Much harder.
Sorry, I digress.
It's been a good success.
So let's go through like the challenges of it, because I genuinely, and I wanted to get you on because I think people should listen to it. I don't think we have enough new blood in, and I could know that actually from a recruitment perspective, because we're falling short at the top end now, because there's limited experience. So we have to start looking at the lower end and start building it back up. But it obviously takes people like yourself to do it. So what are the kind of things that people have to think about when they're rolling into this?
I think I'm going to start with a negative, but one of the things that we've realized is if it's not right, we all have to come to that realization pretty quickly. Because with a graduate, you really don't know what their experience is, and you don't know how they react to a working environment. And one of the things that we've had to do is say, actually, if we don't think it's going to be a good fit, we have to address it really quickly.
Right.
Not leave it for 6 months where they're not going to be happy and we're not going to be happy. We have to just say to people like, sorry, this isn't the right place. And let's, like amicably, but let's move on.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I think was quite hard to get your head around.
Did you do it at the beginning? Was it quite slow though? Like you just, because I'm similar in the sense that I think I can change things. I'm like, it's not working right now, but I'm sure if we just did this, if we just did that, and actually you have to come to the realization of like, that's not, just accept it's not going to work.
I'm an optimist as well. I'm always it'll get better. That was just a bad, that was a really bad piece of work they've done, but they could do better. And I'm constantly thinking
they're turning it around and it's not.
Exactly.
I suppose as well, you need the experience to know that whether there is just it's a blip, or whether the character isn't quite right.
Yeah, and I think more fundamentally, it's the problem we found is sometimes when the character's great, but the technical ability is not there. So we've had one or two people who are lovely, worked amazingly hard, put everything they could into it, but you could see they're not going to thrive. And the problem then is you don't want them to be sitting in that environment where they're not getting the satisfaction and you're feeling frustrated with them.
Yeah.
Although they're putting 110% of their effort in. Yeah. So I think that was probably one of the hardest, and it sounds a bit dour to start with a negative, but that was one of the things to
that's what people need to hear as well, right? Because if you go, oh, it's amazing, you just get 5 and then they just roll through and you get the next 5. Like, it's not realistic.
No, the reality is we've had more than, we've got 5, soon to be 6 in, but we've had more in that haven't stayed.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I think the other thing is where a lot of the knowledge we have in our business is in there.
Yeah.
And making sure that it's down on paper, that people have processes and systems, so we can train them, is very, very disruptive for people to feel like, oh, every time I need to come and ask a question, I don't know how to figure this out. So we've invested a lot of energy and time into structuring a training and structuring a learning process for everyone. We've got kind of 3 different areas. We've got analyst underwriting. Yeah. We've got a marketing and business development strand, and then we've got finance and operations. And each one of those needed a structure. Yeah. And we haven't got it perfect. I can tell you we're probably not even 50% of the way, but we are very cognizant that it needs to be there for the future.
It's a good point. If you look at big businesses like a McDonald's, they've got a whole folder on how to wash lettuce. It's crazy, but when you're building something that people don't know, you need to make sure that structure's in place, because you can't just chuck in grads and go, good luck. Yeah. Or like you say, you're not there all the time. It's impossible for you to just constantly get it out of your head. It needs to be written down.
You need to put it down, but then you also need to have a bit of faith in them. So I'll give you one example. We hired a lady straight out of university in December. She was kind of helping me on the origination, on the business development side, a bit of marketing. She's really good at marketing. And now she's taking over. Like, she is literally going to head up. I mean, we don't have any titles here, but she will head up our marketing. And the other side is, empower them to make their own decision. And sometimes it will go wrong, and sometimes they'll make bad decisions, but no more than anyone else. And that's actually, that's quite hard to get your head around, but it's been,
And about that as well, because obviously you can't that's relevant about the marketing person, because it's hard. You can't pigeonhole a graduate either, right?
No.
When you're in and you go, this is our future, senior underwriter, and actually turns out they're amazing at talking to clients. They're amazing at other aspects of business.
Funny enough, that's exactly what happened with her. She came in for one role. We said, actually, I think it'd be really good in this role. But the day she started, I think, maybe the week, I said, if you're doing the same thing in a year, you're going to leave, or I'm going to let you go, because you can't be doing the same thing in a year. This is not the role for you. You need to evolve and move, and that's the reality. But it's difficult in a small business as well, because everyone needs to have a role, but
there's not always an opportunity for everyone, is there?
Yeah.
It's interesting actually, because about kind of pigeonholing people, because it is really easy to go, well, this is what we need and this is what you're good at, and it would also be really easy for you to go, she's not very good at this, we'll start again. When actually you're looking at it a bit more holistically and going, look, she's not very good at this, she's amazing at this, but it's really hard to do when your graduate scheme is very linear. When they're all it's a tough one.
Yeah, I think in that case we were probably lucky that we saw there was a good ability and propensity to do one thing. So we said, okay, let's shift in that. It wasn't a failure in another. It was, okay, actually, you've got a knack for this. Yeah. Let's see where we get to with it.
And what are you looking for in these people when you join? Because, again, had this conversation, realistically, for me, I would love to be involved in graduate schemes. But it is a kissing lot of frogs. And if I'm honest, people pay me for the fact I've been doing it so long. So I'm guessing like you are. What is it? What do you think is when you look at them?
It's a really hard question. I don't think I've got a coherent answer. We've tried to improve the questions we ask to make sure if there's a technical knowledge needed that we dig into that. We've had a few times where we've thought people are great, really smart, and then technically they are very poor. So we're trying to iron that out. Culturally, I think it's really hard. And as a small business and as a small team, and we're all sitting in one area in the office.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got an answer to say what's the X factor. I just don't have.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like an energy or because you can't be a skill set at the beginning because you don't know what they don't know.
No. Energy's there, but energy in an interview is impossible to get because everyone's energetic in an interview. Everyone says they are hungry and this, and everyone tells you they'll push and push, but an interview doesn't give you that. So I think
first couple of weeks maybe tells you rather than the
that's it, and that's why sometimes we say if it's not going to work, then we make that decision.
And out of interest, obviously you've got a very young office, and I talk to people a lot because that isn't very normal in financial services. We spend a lot of time with businesses working on succession plans because their origination or their underwriting or collection, whatever it is, their servicing side of things is getting to 55, 60s, and that's kind of always been the way it's been. What do people have to think about when they're employing that next generation? Because they're very different drivers now to when you were recruiting 15 years ago. Yeah,
I think the reality is there's a lot more mobility and there's probably a lot more people are graduates now or younger staff members now are probably much more likely to move around a lot more than a graduate 20 years ago. And I think that's there in the reality. I think the optimum everyone would like is that someone stays with you, grows with you, learns, develops, and takes on more.
Yeah.
I think we're too young to. I haven't got the time under the belt to say whether that will be true or not. I think that's what we'd love, but I'm quite aware that if someone started their career with us and we haven't been able to offer them more after 3 years, they will likely move on if they're good.
Yeah, and that's why you got to keep the machine rolling as well, though, right? Because otherwise it stops. So you've got to go. I've got similar with the commercial brokerage that we know that they're an exceptional commercial brokerage in the market, but they know that their top 10% are going to leave and set up their own business. They're just comfortable with it, and they know that we keep having to fill up the bottom to make sure it goes. Because you can't keep
that kind of like academy style mentality where you build them up, and at some point they'll go sign for another club or they'll go.
And there is that nice kind of, I suppose it's not been long enough yet, but you will bump into these people later on in their careers, and you'll know that they started with you. You were the one that kick-started it. It's a nice thing to know you're pushing more. I know it's not for everyone. I always push this about doing more for the industry rather than just for our own businesses. But it is a nice thing where you get to see other people flourish as well. I mean,
it's hugely rewarding. I agree with that.
Good. Okay, so what's next for you then? Because we talked about this about being so many lenders, and you're obviously you're in your niche. But how do you see it how do you see it progressing for you guys? What's happening with you in the market?
Ideally, we want to do exactly the same, just do it a bit better and a bit bigger. We do not want to fundamentally change the structure of who we are. And I said to you, maybe it's not the right thing to say to someone in recruitment, but I don't see our team being more than early double digits. I don't think we'll ever be more than 15 people because
do you know what everyone says? When everyone says that they'll never take institutional money. It's such a fun journey at the moment, but there is that now because once you're there, all of a sudden you're there, aren't you? And I mean, you as a business owner need growth as well, so it's difficult.
For me, I think we're still early on, and the business is very different to what it was 3 years ago, even. And every year will be a different iteration. I think we want to continue doing what we're doing, building the book, building the team, making sure we've got really robust processes. And then, once we hit a stabilization period, which I think, it's within the short to medium term, then we'll reassess. But my plan now is not to change fundamentally what this is. It's to leave it, let it go. If, it's a good business, it's profitable, if we're lending money and not losing money on the way through, we've got good relationships, fundamentally, we all enjoy what we're doing. All the owners of this business are here because they enjoy it. And the plan isn't to exit it and to move on.
I can't speak to people when it does grow and it does get to that bigger size. I actually have close friends who, if they look back, they would have probably kept it at a smaller stage. But there was also that element of, well, we're already here now. We might as well. Look, it's not such a big step next time, is it? Do you know, it's only like the next step as opposed to like it looks huge now, but it's not so much if you're just moving up through the years.
Yeah, if it's incrementally growing, then yes. But I think at a certain point, any organization above a certain point means that you don't have the same relationships. You need a middle level. Right now, we have a really flat structure. We have almost no middle level.
I was just wondering, we were talking about this. You have the job title side of things.
Yeah, we don't have the job titles. But if we were to be 35, 40 people, I need a middle management team to supervise the finance and operations teams. I need a middle management team that then reports into a senior management team. And that, whilst is very nice on paper, in my view, will probably dilute our profitability to a point where I just don't think it's worth it. I'd rather keep it a bit smaller, a bit leaner, but keep the profitability there.
Nice. And so I've kept you about as long as I said I would, but I could talk about the graduate stuff all day long, because I just think, and hopefully people listen to it and go, do you know what, we need to start looking at that, because I do think, I keep banging on about it, but there's that massive gap in the market, and it's going to remain the same unless we start doing something as an industry as opposed to just a few people having a go at it. But I mean, challenges wise for you as well. So starting the business, what year was it?
Well, technically end of 2020.
2020. So what have the challenges been outside of setting up businesses outside of COVID? What have been another question? Sorry, I'll ask 8 at the same time. The stepping stones of the challenges. That you get to there was 5 of you at the beginning, and all of a sudden there's a few more. What have been the big challenges in progressing the business?
I think the first time we ever came into to do something different. So the first time we did development loans, no idea what we're doing. You figure it out. You make mistakes along the way. One of the challenges I think is when we've made mistakes is how to address it. And we've made so many mistakes along the way. I mean, if I had a book of it, it would be like an encyclopedia.
I've literally just got off another one of these with someone else, and they were saying, I honestly still make mistake, and they're a big business, and he was like, we cock up all the time, and it's refreshing to hear people say it as well, because other people look at their businesses going they're smashing it, or they just seem to nail everything, but no one does. I speak to business owners all the time. It's tough.
And one of the things I think I'm quite conscious of is every time you make a mistake, it's very easy to put in a process. Every time I didn't look under this envelope, let's have a process that before we complete the loan, we look underneath that envelope. And then you become a business with 19 processes that need to happen before you can turn on your computer in the morning. So one of the things I think is, yes, you don't want to make these same mistakes, but how do you keep a culture where people are still kind of entrepreneurial and not, as you say, you're McDonald's, how do you wash your lettuce?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's a fine line. You've got to streamline processes at the same time, like you say, you need to keep that creativity. On that, about people being entrepreneurial, how do you do that? How do you make sure? Because I always talk to business leaders about this. About people are allowed to make mistakes. How do you do that in your business? How do people trust that they're not going to be in trouble every time they cock up?
They probably see me doing the same thing and go, well, no, I think that the reality is a mistake because you don't know the answer or you make a wrong assumption, I can live with. A mistake because you were lazy or, what's the word? Not diligent is something very different. If someone made a mistake because they made a judgment and they said, I actually think it should be X percent and they were wrong and it should be Y percent, I can live with that. They say, actually, my process was wrong to get to my answer. That's fine, and we'll learn from that process and do it again. When someone goes, I just looked at what we did last time and I just made a guess. Right. That's where I think there's a different output. I think.
Sorry, I was just going to say that you obviously got to address both problems very differently, but at the same time, people have to be able to feel comfortable with telling you when they cocked up.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
But
I think that is purely a cultural thing where people can turn around and say, look, I know you asked me to look at ABC, but actually I looked at X, Y, and Z because I wasn't listening properly. Yeah. So, okay, fine. If that happens every week, you've got a problem. You've got a systemic problem. But if that's a
process problem, that one.
Exactly.
But you must see it as well with the young workforce that they have to be confident and be able to come to you, right? Because if you can't, then there's no creativity. Everyone's a bit panicky about what they're doing.
I don't know if I'm going to get told off my colleagues for saying this, but I think culturally, the younger generation is much more is much more focused on asking how to do it. They won't come up with an answer often. Well, not that they won't come up with an answer, but their first default will be to ask the questions. How do I do this? Rather than try to figure it out. And, if they try and ChatGPT doesn't tell them how, they'll come and ask rather than thinking it through. So I think part of it is also saying you'll know
Yeah,
what
I
the
also
answer is
think
once you've
that
thought
is
about
like
it.
a safety thing as well. Because when I grew up, like I would not have dreamt of asking my sales manager a question that he might have thought was stupid. And I think
Yeah,
now we're building cultures where people go, okay, well, but having said that, on the flip coin, and I can say this because I'm rubbish at it, right? I'm a rubbish coach. I feel like I'm an okay cheerleader, motivator, coach wise, because I just think it's easy to tell someone to do it because I know the answer. But actually,
yeah,
you're affecting someone's career growth by giving them the answer every time. So
yeah.
it's also the quickest route to getting to the answer is by telling them. But
No, but also it doesn't actually help you in the long term. If you constantly, if you become the pinch point, you'll become the funnel where everyone needs Marcus's time to go, okay, Marcus, what should we do on this client? Or what should we do on this role? Or how do we approach this? If no one's thinking independently, that every time they're coming back to you, that will be the limiting growth.
yeah, I appreciate I am the bottleneck. I've said this all the time.
So am I. So am I. So am I.
Amazing. So, if anyone wants to get in contact with you, I appreciate I've taken up more than I said I would. But if anybody wants to get in contact with you, have a chat with you, whether it's about the business or general anything we've talked about, what's the best way? Oh, your socials will be on our socials, but what's the best way to contact you?
Pick up the phone, WhatsApp, email.
Yeah. Don't give your phone number.
We don't have a fax machine anymore, but any other mode of communication will do.
Amazing.
I'm much better on the phone than I am on WhatsApp. I can't do conversations on WhatsApp, so anyone that wants.
Are you the guy that stops halfway through and just disappears?
I can't do conversations on WhatsApp. I don't know if it's I've got dyslexia. And I can read a lot of information, but I can't do conversations on WhatsApp. I can do information transmission, but I can't do how was your day? What did you do?
Yeah. Pick up the phone.
So, yeah, I'm much better on the phone.
Amazing. Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening and watching today. It's been another episode of NRG Insights, but appreciate your time, Jourdan, today. It's been really useful. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.